After this video, you'll be able to draw almost any vector illustration you want with confidence. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a snowman vector in Adobe Illustrator. What I'll be explaining here isn't limited to just this snowman. By applying the same ideas and techniques, you'll be able to create your own original vectors and illustrations. Before we get into the tutorial, I'd like to sincerely thank everyone who supports this channel on Patreon and YouTube. This channel continues to exist and grow thanks to your support. First, we'll use the ellipse tool to draw two circles, with the larger one at the bottom and the smaller one on top. After that, we'll set the stroke color and stroke thickness for the outlines. On this layer, we'll focus only on drawing the outline strokes. Once all the outlines are finished, we'll create a new layer underneath and add the colors and shadows there. That's why I recommend watching the video until the very end. After drawing the circles, I use the direct selection tool to select the top and bottom anchor points of each circle one by one and flatten them slightly. This helps create a more flexible and natural shape. Once both circles are flattened from the top and bottom, I position them so they touch each other. From here, I start drawing the snowman scarf. For this part, we'll use the pencil tool, and from this point on, most of the drawing will be done with the pencil tool. Make sure to match the stroke thickness and color of the pencil tool to the outlines we used for the circles. Then, continue drawing along with me. If you find it difficult to draw like this on your first try, I strongly recommend making a rough sketch first, either on paper or in Photoshop. After that, place this sketch on a lower layer in Illustrator and reduce its opacity so it doesn't distract you while drawing. Then create a new layer on top and continue your vector drawing there. In this video, I didn't use a sketch and continued the process purely from imagination. However, in my previous Santa Claus video, I showed the full drawing process using a sketch. Don't forget to check that video as well, because there are many useful details you can learn from it. I'll also add similar videos to the cards above. As you may have noticed, after drawing the scarf, some of the circle outlines underneath started to interfere with it. This would also cause problems later during the coloring stage. That's why we need to remove the unnecessary lines that we no longer need. When I continue drawing the scarf, I'll repeat the same process. First, I select the line I want to cut by double-clicking it with the left mouse button. Then, at the points where this line intersects with other lines, I add anchor points using the pen tool. After that, I use the direct selection tool to select the segment between those points and delete the parts we don't need. We need to do this carefully everywhere so that it doesn't create issues later when we move on to coloring. In this video, I'm doing these drawings using a mouse. If you have a graphic tablet, you can use that as well to make the process more comfortable. Drawing like this with a mouse can be a bit challenging at first. I'll tag all the tools I use in the video so you can see which mouse, tablet, and other tools I'm working with. While drawing, if a line looks uneven or doesn't turn out the way you want, you can always use the curvature tool or the direct selection tool to adjust the anchor points and refine the shape until it looks right. And we continue drawing with the pencil tool. After finishing the details of the scarf, we also draw a hat. From this point on, to keep the video from feeling repetitive or boring, I've sped up or cut some of the repeated parts. If there's any part that feels unclear to you, please don't hesitate to ask by leaving a comment. I'll do my best to help you and explain it clearly. At this point in the video, I'd also like to kindly ask for your support. If you want this channel to continue creating content in the new year, please consider supporting us by visiting our Patreon page through the links in the description and subscribing to a plan that fits your budget. All Patreon supporters get access to exclusive posts, premium vector icons, and illustration content. These benefits are available across all monthly tiers. The reason the tiers have different prices is simply to make it easier for everyone to support at a level that feels comfortable for them. And if you'd like to support the channel directly on YouTube as well, you can find the YouTube support link in the description. In many of my older videos on this channel, I mostly showed how to create drawings using shapes. But lately, I've been enjoying drawing with the pencil tool much more. It gives you a lot more flexibility and allows you to draw almost any object or character you imagine.
With this approach, the final results don't look stiff or lifeless. Instead, they feel more natural, expressive, and functional. Personally, I really like the freedom it gives me during the drawing process. I'm curious to know what you think. Which style do you prefer, and which tools feel more comfortable for you to work with? Do you enjoy drawing more in Adobe Illustrator, or do you prefer Adobe Photoshop? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely enjoy reading your feedback and communicating with you. You can also let me know which topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. With your comments and ideas, we can shape the next content on this channel together. I hope this video is useful for you, and I'd really appreciate it if you share your thoughts about it in the comments as well. When I looked at the analytics, I noticed that New Year related videos are received with a lot of interest. In previous years, I also created and shared New Year themed videos, and even though they weren't as detailed as the ones I'm making now, they were still met with a lot of engagement. Because of that, I decided to spend time on this theme again this year, but this time I prepared everything in much more detail. For the videos you watch in just a few minutes, I spend hours behind the scenes. First, I have to find the right idea for the video, then bring it to life. And as you can imagine, not every vector works out perfectly on the first try. Sometimes a drawing doesn't turn out the way I want, so the video ends up being discarded and the whole process starts again. After several attempts, when I finally get the result I'm satisfied with, I spend long hours editing. I try to zoom in on important details, speed up or cut unnecessary parts, and make sure you can watch without getting bored or wasting time while still learning something valuable. After that comes voiceover and additional design work. It's a process that requires a lot of time and effort. That's why when you like the video or leave a comment, it really means a lot to me. It shows me that even if this video helped just one person, all that time and effort wasn't wasted. So please don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. After finishing the drawing process, we move on to coloring. I'd like you to pay close attention to this part. To add colors and shadows, I create a new layer underneath the layer where I drew the outlines, and I always lock the outline layer. If you don't do this, your mouse can accidentally touch the outline strokes, which will cause problems and make your work harder. Sometimes you may even end up adding colors to both layers without realizing it, which will slow you down and complicate the process. That's why I always lock background layers and any layers I don't need to touch. On the new layer, I start filling the areas inside the outlines by choosing the appropriate colors. For the main body, I use the ellipse tool again, and for the other parts, I switch back to the pencil tool. I draw within the outline boundaries, connect the starting and ending points, and then assign the fill color. While doing these drawings, you can occasionally release the left mouse button to check how the shape is forming, then click and hold again from the same point to continue drawing. In longer or more complex sections, I repeat this process frequently. It helps me stay in control of the shape and avoids the need for heavy corrections later. By pausing and continuing like this, I can also clearly see and remember where my starting point is. As you get close to that starting point, you'll notice a small circle appear next to the cursor. When you release the left mouse button at that moment, you'll see that the shape is perfectly closed and your drawing is complete. When creating the shadow on the body, I first set the base color. To do this, I draw shapes that stay completely inside the outline strokes, then select their colors to establish the main body color. After that, I duplicate these shapes and place a copy directly on top. You can do this by using the shortcut Ctrl+C and then Ctrl+F to paste it in the same position, or as shown in the video by selecting the shape, going to Edit, choosing Copy, then going back to Edit and selecting Paste in front. Once the shape is duplicated, I assign a darker color to the copy. I duplicate it once more if needed and position it correctly, as shown in the video. Then I select both shapes and use the Pathfinder tool to cut and remove the unnecessary parts. This way, I define the shaded areas on the body cleanly. I'll show how to create shadows on more complex shapes and objects in the later parts of the video as we move forward. To add more depth and color to the illustration, we start working on the snowman's buttons, mouth, eyes, and arms. By adding darker color shapes underneath these parts using the ellipse tool, we give the drawing more contrast and visual interest. These shadows help make the snowman look more lively and dimensional. To make the character feel more friendly and appealing, especially for kids, I add soft red circles to the cheeks. For the nose, I draw a simple circle with the ellipse tool underneath the outline.
Then, using the direct selection tool, I select the anchor point I need and pull it outward. This way, I can easily shape and color the carrot nose. From this point on, I've sped up many parts of the video so the repeated steps don't feel tiring or boring. To color the hat and the scarf, we'll continue drawing with the pencil tool. We repeat the same process, drawing shapes that stay underneath the outline strokes. Once we close the shape at the starting point, we assign the appropriate color. Since these steps are repeated for many different parts of the illustration, you'll see more sped up sections as the video continues. Still, if anything feels unclear or raises questions, don't hesitate to ask by leaving a comment. While drawing this vector, I chose the colors freely, but you can adjust and choose any colors you like. I usually select colors by thinking about potential buyers, so the vector can be easily used in many different design projects. After the video, I upload these vectors to several stock websites to try to generate passive income. Along with stock platforms, I also sell them in my own Patreon shop. You'll find the link in the description. By visiting the Patreon shop, you can purchase this vector with a one-time payment and use it in your projects. All Patreon supporters, however, can download this vector and dozens of other exclusive vector icons completely free. If you like to use the exact same colors you see in the video, you can pause the video at the end and pick the colors directly from the screen, or you can leave a comment and I'll send you the exact color codes. As I've mentioned in previous videos, one of the most important aspects of creating a good vector is color selection. If the colors are not chosen correctly, the vector will lose its quality and visual appeal, and all the effort you put into it may go to waste. I chose the same color for both the hat and the scarf. After setting the base colors, we'll move on to a more complex shadowing process here. Normally, shadows are created by choosing a darker tone of the same color and applying it on top. In this case, we'll add shadows across areas that contain two different base colors, especially on parts of the scarf and the hat. We could create shadows separately for each color, but that would take much more time and effort, and it would also make it harder to achieve a consistent result. That's why at this stage, I take advantage of what the Pathfinder tool allows us to do. In general, the Pathfinder tool is extremely important and often a real lifesaver in Illustrator. Anyone who uses Illustrator regularly will definitely agree with this. If you noticed, I also applied the colors in a specific order so they wouldn't interfere with each other. I always start with the areas that are visually underneath and then move on to the parts that sit on top. If, for example, you started coloring the hat first, you might run into difficulties later when coloring the head. Or if you started with the scarf, you could face similar issues when working on the head and the body, especially when adding shadows. The same kind of problems can appear during the shading process as well. That's why being mindful of the order you work in makes the whole process much smoother and helps you avoid unnecessary problems later on. Of course, this isn't a critical mistake if you do it differently, and there are ways to fix it. But if you follow the approach I'm using here, you'll save time and avoid extra work. Let's go back to the complex shadowing part. As you may have noticed on the hat, I first added a general shadow shape using the pencil tool and filled it entirely with black. I'll now repeat the same steps on the scarf, and I want you to pay very close attention to this part because it's very important. First, I draw the overall shape where I want the shadow to appear using the pencil tool and fill it with black. At this stage, there are two different approaches you can use. One option is to lower the opacity of the black shape so that it automatically creates a darker version of the colors underneath. However, this doesn't always give good results for every color. That's why I prefer the second method. For this method, I select the black shadow shape along with all the base color shapes underneath that I want to affect. While selecting them, I hold down the Shift key. Then I use the Pathfinder tool to divide and cut the shapes. After the shapes are separated, I use a direct selection tool to select the specific parts I want to recolor and assign darker tones that match the original base colors. All you need to do is choose a slightly darker version of each base color and repeat this process. If your colors are already well organized, you can also use a direct selection tool to select all areas with the same color by holding down the Shift key. Then change the color at once. This way the shadow effect is created quickly and cleanly. And with that, our snowman vector is complete. Thank you to everyone who watched the video until the end. I hope this tutorial was useful for you.
If you have any questions or anything that feels unclear, feel free to ask in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new videos. You can also find all the relevant links in the description, so make sure to check it out. See you in the next videos.